1, 2, 3, 4. That's for the first pattern. 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. Oh, hi everyone. I see we're in the gray zone. That's your zone to play any of the 4 games and improve your rhythmic IQ, imagination quotient. Now I strongly recommend the first game you play is the Parrot Game. And there are 2 ways to play that game. I would listen to all of the examples first and try to write down the rhythms as they are played. And remember, each example is repeated, and that gives you a chance to check what you've written against what is played. Now here's how I would write it down. I'd have a sheet of 8.5 by 11 with the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 across the top, and that's for the count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now when I listened to the example, I noticed something happened on 1 and something happened on 3. Oh, by the way, I can hit pause, and now I have all the time to think and write that I need. In my memory, I'm carrying that rhythm that I heard, that example. And by the way, there's a lot of learning going on just because you're holding that rhythm in your memory. You're building up a rhythmic vocabulary that you can use when you improvise on an instrument or compose songs. Anyway, something happened on 1, so I draw a stem, and something happened on 3, so I draw a stem, and nothing happened on 2 or 4. That means that number 1 here was a half note, and number 3 was a half note, because each of them consumed 2 beats. Okay, so then I'd hit resume and check my work against the repeat of the example rhythm, example number 1. Okay, I listened to the repeat of example 1 and my work checked out. Let's use rhythm number 2 to talk about the second way to play the Parrot Game. In the second version of the Parrot Game, and we're back in the gray zone, so the time is all mine here, and yours, you're not going to write anything down. You're just going to imitate what you heard, and you have 3 full measures to get it right. Or to just repeat it 3 times if you want to. Now I think that the second example was a half note and 2 quarter notes, and I don't think I'm giving away anything really important here, because you should repeat this video often enough that you become totally familiar with these rhythms, that they become part of your rhythmic vocabulary. And when you're writing a melody, you'll just jot it down with a perfect awareness of time. Alright, so that second rhythm, half note, 2 quarter notes. Here is playing the Parrot Game just by performing. 2, 3, 4. I repeated it 3 times. You can repeat it just once if you want to. Okay, now I'm going to check my work by listening to the repeat example. Seems I got it right, so on to the next example and the next game, which is Q&A. Now in the Q&A game, you improvise some new rhythm based on the rhythmic example you just heard. Now the rhythmic example I just heard was 2 quarter notes and a half note. Now here's my variation on it. And let's listen and see how that sounds next to the repeat of the example. And right after that I'm going to fill out all 3 measures in the next gray zone with Q&A stuff. Okay, I managed to get 5 measures out of it, but you get the basic idea. Once you start thinking in terms of Q&A, it becomes easy to make up musical rhythmic sentences where each measure relates to the measure that came before it. And that's what you do when you write with melody and harmony too. Every measure relates to the measures that came before. Let's play Q&A with one more example. This is number 4. And now what I heard in number 4 was in other words, a quarter note, a half note, and a quarter note. Okay, now I'm going to do a little Q&A with that on the repeat. Okay, here we are in the as-if game. It's the Q&A game again, but you're simply adding emotion to the answer. And of course this is closer to actual songwriting because songwriting isn't an intellectual exercise, it's an act of poetry, combining emotion with melody and harmony. And it has to be a natural process, and that means you have to know how to speak the language of music, okay? So I'm encouraging now the joining together of emotion with what you've been thinking of intellectually so far. To get into an emotional state, it's really easy. Just think of any time you felt any emotion at all, like maybe the first time you rode a bicycle, the feeling of freedom. Short, short, long, long, short, short, long. Okay, that's what I've got to work with for the wordplay game. You've got three ways to handle this. You can sing nonsense syllables. You can use the lyrics to other songs and try to fit them in. Or you can make up your own words, and they don't have to be great poetry. A lot of songs start out with nonsense lines like scrambled eggs, oh baby how I love your legs. That was the original, those were the original lyrics to Yesterday by Lennon and McCartney. So an all-time great song started out with rather humble lyrics, and the same can be true of you, I'm sure. So let's see what I could do. Long, short, short, long, la, tippy ta, ti, ta da di, baby, bum bum. I want to dance, baby, take a chance. Okay, so now I'm on the way to saying something meaningful. Why don't you try the same thing with number 8, example 8, coming up in just a moment. Stand by. So this concludes your how-to introduction to the 4 dialogue drill games, and admittedly you're going to be dealing with very restricted material here, just rhythm, but sooner than you think we're going to be adding elements of harmony, melody, lyrics, and building up a complete repertoire of songwriting skills that will all feel completely natural. Instead of pushing yourself to write, I think you'll find it very easy by the time you come to the end of this course.